There are teachers who will teach you core skills. For example, Amir Khan taught the child how to be able to overcome his dyslexia and still find space to create. A Gully Boy or a Three Idiots or a Jo Jeeta Wahi Sikandar had very good mentors who were people who were almost your age, but they were friends or they were siblings, and those are the people that you feel like listening to because they talk in a tone that is comfortable for you. Dekh bhai, aise kar. There are a variety of mentors that you find. Sometimes you find mentors in competitors as well. Sometimes you find mentors in lovers as well. So one helps you deal with this contingency that you will be a complete failure. The other one sets you up to be successful. One of the things that one of my mentors always told me is that, look, you are the one who are going to benefit a lot more from this relationship. So obviously you are the one who's going to work a lot harder on this.
So we have to look for our Dumbledores and Hagrids.
Yes,
in the
absolutely.
Office. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Altuni Career Show. I am super thrilled to host a dear friend today. In many of our videos in the comment section, people have been pining to see this person as a host. However, I am going to have him here with me as a guest today. I am super thrilled to welcome Kunj Sanghvi back at Inside IIM and Altuni. Kunj today is the head of content at Kuku FM. And he has a handle on what is it that people in multitude of languages in this country currently consume. He has a ringside view to the phenomenal growth story of not just Kuku FM, but the rise of vernacular languages and the content in vernacular languages in this country. So I'm sure he has some amazing insights to give us through the lens of content. So welcome Kunj, how are you feeling?
I am feeling great. After a long time, I am speaking in English on a video. I have had to transition to Hindi and that has been tough because of my very Bombaya Hindi. So I am happy to be conversing with an audience that I am familiar with and in a language that I am most comfortable with. So looking forward to this.
So Kunj, today we have a host of topics, but one of the topics that I wanted to kind of jam with you on was on mentorship. First question that I have is, why is a mentor important according to you early in a person's career?
I think when we, at whatever stage we are in our career, forget career also, right? Like when we grow up also, when we are born, we are always looking at someone ahead of us, a few steps ahead of us to mirror. Even when you're driving a car, often an advice for someone who's just started driving a car is just follow a good car driver ahead of you, right? So mentorship is that essentially. You want to be able to see someone who's trodden the same path as you and is a few steps ahead of you so that you can learn from the actions of that person. And the thoughts and the insights that person has generated. It's a moving target. When you're young, your parents are your mentors because you're still learning the ways of the world and fundamental things of what to eat, how to go to toilet, how to interact with people, what clothes to wear, etc. But then as you grow up, your needs become more specific. And at some point of time you make a career choice. Now the career choice doesn't always align with what your parents have done. So let me give you examples of how these things I have noticed in content and I have been able to learn from it. You see these examples in, say, Dilwale Dulhaniya Le Jayenge, Wake Up Sid, or a variety of movies where parents are the first mentors that someone is introduced to, and you emulate some of the life's philosophies around this. So for example, how Anupam Kher makes Shah Rukh Khan believe that, look, go have fun, and that is important in your life before you start a boring life. I have struggled all my life to be able to give that space to you.
मैंने अपनी पूरी जिंदगी काम करते करते गुजार दी ताकि तू वो सब कुछ कर सके जो मैं नहीं कर पाया.
And that is something that is coming from someone who's a few steps ahead of you, saying that, look, that's something I regret not being able to do. I had to make sacrifices. But maybe I have been able to give you that space, so you should be able to do. If you see a film like Udaan, you see how there is a disconnect between a parent and a child in terms of what the child wants to become and how the child sees the world. There's the son who is a poet, and there's the father who is a hardcore engineer who's running an engineering business, and their worldviews collide, and that's when the son again feels a lack of a mentor, someone who can give them direction. If poetry, if creative arts is something a sort of a direction he wants to go in.
And he looks for mentors elsewhere.
Yes, so then he starts looking for mentors elsewhere. Similar kind of a father existed in Iqbal, for example, right? Like where the father was very reluctant about his son doing anything apart from working in the fields. And enter a teacher, right? Enter Nasiruddin Shah's character in Iqbal, enter Amir Khan's character in Tare Zameen Par. And then the teacher starts playing the role of mentorship, where a parent sort of starts stumbling or doesn't find that kind of connection. Very different teachers, right? Like there are teachers who will teach you core skills. For example, Amir Khan taught the child how to be able to overcome his dyslexia and still find space to create, artistic things. And then there are teachers who are more on the motivational side, the kind we see in a variety of sports films, where it is more about how to motivate, how to find that person within you who is competitive, who wants to beat someone, who finds that inner reserves to be able to overcome a challenge. And then there is a stage where there is a disconnect with the teacher as well, because you've grown up and you have your own ideas, and then you don't want someone who's that far ahead of you. You want someone who's only a few steps ahead of you, which is where a friend or an elder sibling comes in. So a Gully Boy or a Three Idiots or a Jo Jeeta Wahi Sikandar had very good mentors who were people who were almost your age, but they were friends or they were siblings. And those are the people that you feel like listening to because they talk in a tone that is comfortable for you. Dekh bhai, aise kar. And then some people are lucky to find bosses who don't think only in their own self-interest or the company's interest, but also think of their career progression. So you see bosses in the workplace, like in Rocket Singh, in Company, in Tal, where bosses become mentors that people really hang on to, but sometimes they lose respect when they become very self-interest driven. So that is how the entire ecosystem evolves. There are a variety of mentors that you find. Sometimes you find mentors in competitors as well. Sometimes you find mentors in lovers as well, like you were mentioning the case in Laksh, where Preeti Zinta actually brings out the whole thing that you don't stick with anything, so how are you going to stick with me? So I don't want to be with you, and that becomes a teaching moment for Hrithik Roshan, which drives him for the rest of the film.
So Kunj, let's break this down from the perspective of a young early career professional who's just joined the job, somebody who's probably come from a great university, has gotten a great job. What ends up happening is that 15 days into the job, the person realizes that, damn, I'm not good enough. I'm just not able to manage this. That dialogue which is there in Rang De Basanti, where DJ says that
कॉलेज दे गेट दे इस तरफ हम लाइफ को नचाते हैं ते दूजी तरफ लाइफ हमको नचाती है.
So once you see the real world, you realize that, and DJ probably didn't want to get out of his comfort zone, so he ended up just staying in college despite graduating. But a lot of people are pushed out into the real world, right? And they fight it out. Now, in that particular moment, when you are just joined the job and you are really struggling, the importance of a mentor is manifold.
Right.
I think some companies are smart enough to figure out a buddy system and give people that. Any examples that you can think of where we've seen it in cinema also, and what is your own view on this? Maybe you had a similar kind of a boss early on.
So the thing is that elite education gives you one feeling, which is which I've seen often in myself and people around me, which is that you feel like you're the chosen one, right? You feel like you are meant for big things. You should be CEO tomorrow, right? And everybody else is doing things wrong. And that narrative is pretty much one of those classic narratives that a lot of films also have, which is a Harry Potter or a Dune story, or each of those stories have a chosen one who's meant to do XYZ big things one day. But when they enter, when Harry Potter enters Hogwarts for the first time, or when this guy lands on the planet of Arrakis, Paul Atreides lands on the planet of Arrakis for the first time, he is completely out of his depth. And it takes him time, that all these years that I have been made to feel like I am going to be the chosen one, and I am completely out of depth and I am not able to cope up. At that time, a lot of different mentors are required. One is a mentor like a Hagrid, who's more going to handle your emotions, because you're going to suddenly feel like, dude, this is a lot, this is overbearing and I don't know how to handle this. And then there is a mentor like Dumbledore, who keeps your ambition true and straight, that look, I understand that currently you are feeling you are out of depth, but there is a long way to go and you will do well because I have trust in you, confidence in you. So one helps you, deal with this contingency that you will be a complete failure. The other one sets you up to be successful. So both sets of mentors are required, and often you will find them in different settings in the workplace. For me, my first boss was the Hagrid kind of mentor who gave me a lot of emotional support to say that, dude, you'll do fine. And I found that kind of drive from a different colleague in the office. So you have to figure those out in the workplace, especially early on, that who are these mentors that are going to guide you.
So we have to look for our Dumbledores and Hagrids
Yes,
in the
absolutely.
office. It's a great way to put it. And then there is obviously a manager who might be really shouting at you or may not necessarily be dealing with you very well. First of all, is that style of management and that tough love. How do you see it as mentorship at all in the first place? And if that isn't the case, then how do you deal with that situation?
Horses for courses, right? The best mentors I have seen don't have a singular mentoring style for everybody that is there in their team. They adapt as per their target audience, right? Like if there is someone who's, you often find these kinds, the ones who are lazy but super talented, right? And they need to just be driven to do a lot more work in a day.
Right.
And then there are those who are, very hardworking, very thorough with their work, but they just lack that talent, and they need that confidence, that assurance that, dude, you can also crack this creative challenge,
Right.
So I do believe that tough love has a space and a reason in the corporate setup. Of course, not extreme abusing, but definitely driving them to do work much harder. So of course, one example that we immediately go to is some of the situations in Chak De where Shah Rukh Khan is driving them, saying that you're not motivated enough to represent India. It has to hurt your heart when India loses, and that the kind of fitness drills he goes through, the kind of things he says to the team. In fact, at one stage he says one of the very senior team members that is team ka gunda main hu, and that is the role he wants to play in the team to drive them to do better. Even Dangal, for example, very classic example where you see that the father is setting a habit of discipline into daughters who have not seen that before that. So when that setting of habit of discipline is happening, there will be an element of tough love. That space definitely exists, but you have to draw the line somewhere, and that often lies with the mentor. Where does it become slave driving and stops being tough love?
So Kunj, one of the other questions that we keep getting is, how should I go about finding mentors? Everybody says कि mentor रखो, पर मैं mentor ढूंढूं कैसे? So what is the inspiration that we can take from cinema for this?
One of the things that one of my mentors always told me is that, look, you are the one who are going to benefit a lot more from this relationship. So obviously you are the one who's going to work a lot harder on this. Okay, and it starts from finding a mentor and reaching out to him and then wooing him to train you. One of the examples which I can give from cinema is that of Iqbal, right? Iqbal was a character who wanted to learn cricket, and he was very passionate about it. And he found this drunkard guy in his village who used to be a very good fast bowler. But that guy had completely given up on a career in cricket and was completely disillusioned from it. Iqbal and his younger sister, over several days, showed him the kind of skills he had, the kind of talent he had, and also the kind of grit and commitment he had to make it in his life. Also, at one point, they made him realize that not everybody's career needs to turn out the way his career eventually turned out, and maybe he can take a second shot at contributing to the game that he loves by giving it a player that is valuable, even if he himself didn't become that player. Those kinds of situations, understanding your mentor, what are the things that drive him and what are the things that will give him joy, and positioning yourself in such a way that you will be able to give that benefit, that kick to the mentor. You can't give up after sending one generic message on LinkedIn. So many times people reach out and just say, "Hi Kunj." That is not a message that is going to get you, a mentor. Picking a mentor and then pursuing it is almost like pursuing anything else, right? Like if you love someone, you don't give up after sending that one message. Similarly, if you are convinced that someone can make a tangible difference in your work life, in your career, then you don't give up by just sending one message.
This brings me to one other question, which is, when is it that you grow out of a particular mentor? Because somebody maybe helped you go from point A to point B, but maybe from point B to the next level, you need somebody else's mentorship. Again, if there are examples from
Yeah.
cinema that we can use, maybe people can think about it, reflect on their own relationships with their mentors that they have or they are likely to have in the future, and go back to something, any particular movie
Yeah.
or story that comes to your mind.
I hold very dear to it, and I sort of use it as justification to grow out of my mentors and my friends that are not a part of my life now. Which is when Matt Damon, who's a precocious genius, who's actually working as a janitor in a college and is able to solve really complex math, economics, history problems better than all the students who are studying in that top college, finds a mentor in Robin Williams. But being a janitor, he had a certain life which was about partying, which was about having fun, which was about going for long drives, which he developed with his best friend, which is Ben Affleck. So Ben Affleck was his mentor for the longest time in how to live life and how to enjoy life and those kinds of things. But when he found a higher calling, he found a way to get away from Ben Affleck. There is a very pivotal point in that film where he actually stops turning up for Ben Affleck after his latest transgression, and he makes a commitment that I just want to personally grow. And these are the ugly things about life, right? Like, these are the things that we have to do to think about our own self-interest and say that, okay, if I want to grow from here, I need to get out of the shadow of this mentor and maybe find my own space to fly. It's intimidating, it is scary, and that is why often people don't get out of the shadow of their mentors and stay with the same mentor across companies for several years, because it is difficult and it makes you feel very insecure and without any support when that mentor is not there. It's suddenly you have to make an impression in this world again. There is no one who is going to take your brand forward. But sometimes it's important, and often it brings out sides of you that you didn't know existed.
It's about leaving your comfort zone,
Yeah.
because essentially your relationship with your mentor can also become a comfortable space
Yeah.
where maybe neither of you are growing
Yeah.
after a point of time. So yeah, that's a great example. So thank you so much for that. Thank you, Kunj. I think this was a great session. I learned a lot. I'm sure people who are watching this learned a lot. Please go back and maybe watch some of the movies.
Watch all of them. What's there to life? Watch movies, yeah.
So yeah, I think that you should watch some of these movies. I think a lot of the movies have great scenes that you can remember in the future as well, and probably apply it in your life. I hope that you find the content on our channel, on our websites useful in order for you to actually find mentors and make something out of your career. For all those who can't, you know about Altuni and the various programs that we run. One of the programs where we do a lot of personalized one-on-one counseling to help you grow in your career is our Altuni Super 30 program, where we bring in 30 of the most promising candidates into our fold, and you get mentored by a CHRO of a unicorn. You get mentored by one of the most celebrated growth marketers in the startup world, and over and above that, you get specialized, personalized mentorship from people who are from the domains that you are interested in transitioning to or growing into. So I would really request you to look up our Altuni Super 30 program. I think the right mentor, the right kind of advice at important points in your career can completely transform your life. It can literally be the difference between you making 10 lakhs a month versus maybe getting 75 lakhs a month. Or even if you don't want to put it in value terms, just in terms of the sheer satisfaction and joy that you get from your career if the mentor asks you to focus in the right direction. Kunj has also been a mentor at Altuni and has mentored a lot of young professionals in the world of content, in the world of marketing. Kunj, any experience you would like to share about that?
Like, I've met some amazing people with very fundamental questions about life, which made me also ponder I genuinely feel that some of these mentorship programs, especially at Alt Uni, are really valuable for people who are at early stages of their careers and just need that little bit of motivation, that little bit of direction on how to grow, because they are not able to see the future that is customized to them, to their profile, to their history, to their preferences. So that's something that I think everybody should definitely sign up for.
Thank you so much, Kunj, for that. It was a pleasure. I hope to do many more sessions.
Always love doing sessions for Inside IR.